to the Rock Mount Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, one person is dead after a carport collapses in Bar Harbor.
Plus, UMaine faces pressure to stop transgender athletes from competing in women's sports.
And state lawmakers are considering a measure that calls for term limits for members of the U.S. Congress. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. Those are just a few of the many stories we'll bring to you over the next hour or so. But first, we're going to kick things off with a check of the forecast. Feeling pretty mild out there already. We're above freezing. Looks like temperatures are going to get up in the 40s today, over the next couple of days for that matter. So it's going to be like a little early taste of spring.
I know, I'm almost kind of warm in this sweater right now. It's
yeah, I know.
Nice.
We're complaining about being warm. It's usually the opposite.
Right,
but
I know.
We'll take it.
Yeah, here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. We have a small craft advisory that does remain in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are going to be dealing with some active surf until about that time frame, thanks to gusty winds. Low temperatures not very cool this morning. We started off in the middle to upper 30s, at least so far, and maybe some 20s and 30s further off towards the north. We'll see an update later on this morning on those lows. But for now, we had some snow and maybe a little bit of rain passing through last night. That has since gotten out of here, and overall just some clouds passing through today and some wind, and that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of the Northeast, a little bit of rain moving in at this point, but overall we're looking pretty good moving forward in our neck of the woods. Futurecast for today will have a mostly cloudy sky, some rain and snow on the way, and maybe a wintry mix. So that could be rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. Snow mainly to the north. There's that transition line right about in here, and maybe a little bit of rain farther down toward the south. And again, wind's not a big issue today. But again, we are going to be watching for the winds picking up again as we head towards tomorrow. So the active weather is farther out towards sea, and that is why we have the small craft advisories posted at this time. Mid-40s today, mostly cloudy, southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overall, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing that mostly cloudy sky. Check out these temperatures making into the 40s later this afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that full 5-day forecast a little later on. A Lowell man is in custody after a 24-hour standoff with police. According to the Department of Public Safety, on Sunday around 4 p.m., troopers responded to a 911 call from a woman reporting a domestic violence situation. Upon arrival, troopers assisted the victim. The department says the victim's husband, 55-year-old Andrew York of Lowell, remained inside the residence and refused to come out. Police say around 2:30 p.m. yesterday, the Maine State Police tactical team and crisis negotiation team arrived to assist the troopers still on scene. At 4:30, York surrendered. He was taken to a local hospital for evaluation and was later transported to the Penobscot County Jail, where he will be charged with domestic violence-related offenses. The investigation remains ongoing.
Well, meanwhile, a home in Calais has been badly damaged by fire. Fire crews from several communities were called to a home on the River Road around 4:30 Monday afternoon. Lieutenant Brandon Ireland tells us the building was heavily involved with fire when they arrived on the scene. They decided to fight it from the outside to keep it from spreading. No injuries are reported, but Ireland believes that several pets were lost in that fire. The State Fire Marshal's office has also been called in to search for a cause of the blaze.
A man was killed Monday morning after a structure collapsed at a hotel in Bar Harbor. Authorities say it happened shortly before 7 a.m. Our Grace Blanchard has the details.
A Florida man is dead after police say a canopy collapsed on him at the Bar Harbor Regency. Authorities have identified the deceased as 64-year-old Mark King of Boynton Beach, Florida. According to a joint statement released by the Bar Harbor Fire Department, Police Department, and Mount Desert Police Department, King was trapped under the debris when crews arrived. Emergency crews were able to free King, but despite life-saving efforts, he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. Details are limited, but police confirmed King was contracted for a project in Maine. The Department of Occupational Safety and Health Administration are leading the investigation. At this time, it is unclear what caused the structure to collapse. The Bar Harbor Police Department and Mount Desert Police Department will be assisting OSHA in their investigation. In Bar Harbor, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, meanwhile, a Dedham man made his first appearance in court on Monday from charges stemming from a shooting that happened over a year ago. According to Bangor Police Sergeant Jason McCambly, 48-year-old Zachary Fawcett was arrested last Friday on Hildreth Street in Bangor. At the time of his arrest, Fawcett was wanted on multiple warrants. On February 10, 2024, Fawcett contacted police to report he had shot someone in a parking lot on the UMA campus in Bangor. When officers arrived, they found the victim had sustained multiple gunshot wounds, and they were transported to a local hospital by ambulance. Fawcett claimed the shooting was in self-defense. After an investigation by detectives, Fawcett was indicted by a grand jury and warrants were issued for his arrest on charges of attempted murder, elevated aggravated assault, and aggravated assault. During his appearance, Fawcett pleaded not guilty to all the charges. He is currently being held at the Penobscot County Jail with a cash bail of $10,000 and is scheduled to return to court the morning of May 13th.
Over the weekend, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced it would be withholding federal funding if the University of Maine did not adhere to President Donald Trump's executive order of keeping men out of women's sports. Quote, our Alex Schley spoke with UMaine students who say they're confused and concerned about how this could impact their education.
On Saturday, the USDA said it launched an investigation into the University of Maine, citing blatant disregard for President Donald Trump's executive order that aims to keep transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. The review comes just days after an exchange between Maine Governor Janet Mills and Trump over the state's compliance.
So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. See you in court.
In a Facebook Live video on Sunday, Republican Representative Laurel Libby pushed back against Governor Mills, arguing legal action would be too costly for Maine taxpayers.
Their priority is to fight to keep boys and girls sports, no matter how much it costs Maine students.
According to the USDA, the University of Maine receives over $100 million in federal funding from the department. University officials declined to comment on camera, but released a statement saying the USDA has made no allegations of any wrongdoing. They said in part, quote, Maine's public universities will continue to comply with all relevant state and federal laws and cooperate with any compliance reviews to ensure post-secondary education opportunities and high-impact research continue to benefit all students, the state, and this nation. University of Maine students say, however, they feel left in the dark as to if or how they could be affected.
There's been no announcement to my knowledge.
In terms of like the federal aid for UMaine, I haven't heard anything, no.
They're also concerned about what it would mean for their education if the USDA did withhold funding.
I mean, I am in a pretty steep financial situation with this university anyways. Like, federal funding, a bunch of people won't be able to go here anymore.
For now, students say they're waiting for answers as a review moves forward. In Orono, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A special election will be held today to fill a seat in the Maine House of Representatives. That seat was left vacant by Democrat Joe Perry, who resigned after being elected as state treasurer. House District 24 is comprised of Bangor, Brewer, and parts of Orono and Vesey. Democrat Sean Faircloth and Republican Carolyn Fish are both running for that position. Fish is serving her first term as a Bangor City Councilor, and Faircloth has served both on the council and in the legislature. The polls will be open until 8 o'clock tonight.
All right, the time now is 6:08, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, one Maine lawmaker has proposed multiple constitutional amendments, including term limits for Supreme Court justices.
We'll have the story coming up, but first another check of the weather forecast. A mostly cloudy day ahead today with highs near 45 degrees. We could expect a little rain, freezing rain, maybe even a little snow overnight, lows dropping down to around 30. Tomorrow, another mostly cloudy day with highs near 43. We'll be right back.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
Whether you can pinpoint the problem or can't quite put your finger on it, the friendly professionals from Coastal Auto Parts can help point you in the right direction. With Maine's largest network of parts, you can trust your vehicle will have what it needs to get you to the moments that matter most. Because Napa knows the keys to a winning team. And with 30 locations in Maine, Coastal Auto Parts helps keep our communities running. Team up together with the fuel that keeps us firing on all cylinders. Coastal Auto Parts is owned and operated by a Maine family that cares.
Hey Maine, think you're wicked smart? Well, put your knowledge to the test with me, Ken Jennings, on Jeopardy! Weeknights at 7:30 on ABC 7.
Half-off deals. Save money at foxbangor.com right now. Get the best deals from restaurants, family fun activities, events, and your favorite stores all in one place. Go to foxbangor.com and click on half-off deals and see all the money you could be saving. Half-off deals at foxbangor.com.
Welcome back, everyone. The town of Bar Harbor recently approved a memorandum of agreement that would allow Life Flight of Maine to build a new helipad on the corner of the town ball field. According to the chief executive officer of Life Flight of Maine, Bar Harbor is one of the busiest locations they respond to. In the warmer months, they utilize the ball field off Park and Main Street, but during the winter, they're forced to land at the ferry terminal outside of the center of town due to poor landing conditions. Officials say the creation of the helipad would allow year-round access, decreasing transport times for patients.
These pre-established emergency landing areas, which sometimes just look like a field, but areas that we have vetted and made sure are safe. Any of those places that we can land the helicopter is a portal for entry for patient into high-level health care that they may need given their individual complex medical issues.
According to Kellner, Life Flight of Maine responded to over 200 incidents in Hancock County in 2024. He says they have been working on this project with the town and fundraising for around 2 years now. The project is expected to cost around $225,000, and they hope to have the helipad installed by the end of this summer.
One Maine lawmaker is looking to propose 3 new constitutional amendments through what is known as an Article 5 convention. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard has more on what the process is and what amendments he is proposing.
Well, Article 5 under the U.S. Constitution allows state legislatures to actually propose amendments to the Constitution rather than just rely upon Congress.
Senator Rick Bennett is the lead sponsor of a proposed bipartisan resolution calling for 3 separate topics to be raised at a nationwide Article 5 Constitution convention. One has to do with the campaign finance reforms, and the other 2 are term limits for members of Congress and Supreme Court justices.
There's an overwhelming recognition that our institutions are failing us and our democracy is imperiled. And I believe we need to put term limits on Congress because they'll never do it themselves. I also believe that we should put 18-year limits on members of the Supreme Court so that we can make sure that there's a steady and expected turnover in the Supreme Court. And under that provision, every president would be allowed essentially 2 vacancies to fill.
Opponents of calling for a convention fear the process could be used to erode our current constitutional protections.
The ACLU opposes Article 5 conventions for the simple reason that there's nothing in the Constitution that constrains the kinds of topics that can be raised in an Article 5 convention. There's nothing in the Constitution guaranteeing that the process for a convention will be fair. And there's nothing guaranteeing that the Bill of Rights, that our foundational civil liberties and civil rights that exist in the Constitution are protected from the proposals that come out of an Article 5 convention.
Proponents say a runaway convention wouldn't be possible given Supreme Court precedent that would restrict the convention to the topics states agreed upon. If an amendment was passed by a convention, it would require 3/4 or 38 state legislatures to ratify the amendment before it could become law.
Currently today, a poll just taken this year, 83% of the voters want term limits on Congress, and it crosses all party lines.
The bill will now have a committee work session before being voted on by the full legislature. At the State House, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, there are now a dozen approved private paid family and medical leave policies that employers can use as an option instead of the state-sponsored program. Employers who want to utilize a private program can do so beginning on April 1st through the Maine Paid Leave portal. Patrick Woodcock, the president of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, says he applauds the progress made on that program.
It's an important milestone for the program. We've seen the private plans to be an integral part of successful programs in other states. We certainly appreciate the private insurers stepping up to participate in Maine's market, and ultimately for employers to make their own decision of whether to utilize one of these options or utilize the state system.
Again, they can start doing that on April 1st.
All right, the time now is 6:15. Right after the break, calling lovers of all things maple. It's tree tapping time. We'll see how farms are preparing.
Plus, that full weather forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Ruby Franke, the momfluencer who was convicted of abusing her own children. Now her estranged husband and son speak out.
Do you feel like people didn't actually know what really happened? Do you still love her?
The new interview.
Did you think your mom was a good mom?
This morning on Good Morning America.
When bad allergies attack, trust Claritin to keep you in the game. Nothing has proven more powerful for continuous non-drowsy allergy relief. Live Claritin Clear.
It's hard work to recover, whether it's from drugs or losing your child. Michael lived to make people laugh. I couldn't talk to family or friends that didn't get it because everyone has a solution that's never been in that situation before. I honestly did not see a change until I got myself help. How can we tell somebody to get help if we're not willing to get help ourselves?
For 3 years in a row, Chevy has earned more J.D. Power Initial Quality Awards than any other brand. Whether it's a high-tech SUV, the all-electric Equinox EV, or a truck for work or play, Chevy is America's most awarded brand for new vehicle quality. Current Chevy owners can get $3,000 cash allowance on all 2024 Tahoe and Suburban models. Visit your Maine Chevy dealers.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. It's time for one of Maine's most time-honored traditions. Farms around the state are tapping trees to prepare for Maine Maple Weekend.
Our Callie Warren spoke to one local farm to see how they're setting up.
So today we're out in the woods tapping trees, maple trees.
For John and Eileen Williams, it's tapping time. They're starting work on tapping all of their maple trees.
And that tree is tapped.
A process that takes over a week.
We have 3,300 trees that will be tapped. Okay. We have over 1,200 that are tapped right now.
And will produce thousands of gallons of syrup.
1,130 gallons.
It's a labor-intensive process.
We have this fancy-looking drill that we use. And you don't have to have this, it just helps us make a better hole. We try to drill straight in and straight out so it doesn't make an oblong hole.
The taps run sap through hundreds of feet of tubing.
We call it a wet-dry line, so the top one is dry with no sap in it. And the bottom one is a wet line, which carries the sap.
The sap is currently too cold to run, but soon it will be processed through their machinery.
So this actually creates the vacuum that's pulling on all the lines in every tree.
Despite the hard work involved, Williams encourages anyone who's interested to tap a tree and get started.
Even if you only have access to 2 or 3 trees or a dozen trees, it's a really good family experience.
Maine Maple Weekend is just about a month away, and the folks at Williams Family Farm will be stocked up with your Maine maple favorites.
Maple nuts, maple cream, maple candy, maple cotton candy, maple sugar. Is that it? I don't know.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup. A lot of maple syrup.
In Clifton, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And the good news is it's another sign that spring is almost here.
Yeah, right?
A few weeks away.
I love maple syrup. It's time for waffles for dinner.
Sounds good.
All right, the time now is 6:19.
Let's get a full look at that weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have a small craft advisory that is up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Along the coast, no issues inland, though, but we are watching for active surf further out towards sea, and that is why those advisories or those wave heights do remain rather high at around 5 to 7 feet. We've had a wave of energy passing through. The winds are going to back off, which means the wave heights will back off, and that is why that advisory will expire later this afternoon. So there's that rain and snow that passed through last night. That's that wave of energy right there. So we'll calm down for a while. Clouds will move back in coming up later on today. Here's another system right here. This should stay to our south. We'll have a little bit of rain and maybe a little bit of snow coming up later on tonight. But this is this system right here. Some rain dragging from the west going toward the east, at least at this moment in time. So overall for today, we will be under a mostly cloudy sky. Another system will be approaching coming up later on tonight. There's the rainfall right there. Temperatures will be falling, so we could be watching for a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow in some areas overnight. This does get out of here rather quickly as we head towards Wednesday morning, and maybe some breaks in the clouds by Wednesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday night, here we are looking rather clear as we head towards Thursday morning, maybe a few passing clouds. So any snowfall will be further off towards the north, where maybe an inch or two could fall in those areas. Of course, not much of anything farther down toward the south. Maybe a tiny bit of ice possible in a few spots. Again, it's very minimal, but any kind of ice could be enough to make anything slippery. So just keep an eye on that as you head out the door tomorrow morning. As for rainfall, maybe around 1/10 of an inch or so in some areas before we're all finished up with the system that will be passing through later on tonight. So for now, again, gusty winds won't be an issue for most of today. Later on tonight, not too bad either, but gusty winds do make a return tomorrow, getting up to 25 miles per hour at times. Average high temperature is 34 degrees. We'll do mid-40s today, then lower 40s Wednesday, gradually cooling off with upper 30s Thursday into Friday, mid-30s Saturday, and 20s make a return Sunday and also into your Monday. Mostly cloudy today, highs in the mid-40s, winds backing off out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, some rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. The wind's not bad. It will be calm. We'll also have some areas of dense fog with lows overall in the lower 30s. And then for tomorrow, lower 40s, mostly cloudy and breezy again, and the northwest wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour at times. And let's check out your extended forecast. Rain and snow opportunities make a return Thursday with highs in the upper 30s. Snow chances again for your Friday with highs in the upper 30s. Mid-30s for your Saturday with a chance for rain and snow.
If you haven't walked through the showroom at Davis Brothers Furniture in a while, we invite you to come take a look. At Davis Brothers, we've always strived to stand out from the rest. For decades now, the goal has been the same. Give people a reason to travel from all over the state and beyond to Davis Brothers Furniture in Guilford. Everything in our showroom is designed with you in mind, from a rustic lodge and barn look to traditional and even contemporary furniture. It's more than just a unique look, it's a lifestyle. Davis Brothers Furniture, deliberately different.
Save thousands on your new garage doors during the double rebate event at PDQ Door. Choose from several beautiful Clopay garage doors and get up to a $250 online rebate, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $500. Buy 4 garage doors and get up to $1,000 in rebates, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $2,000. Find a door you adore during our double rebate event for a limited time only.
You bought your Toyota because Toyota is the longest-lasting brand. You put your trust in Toyota's reputation for quality. Now put your trust in Toyota-trained certified technicians who install genuine Toyota parts to help keep your Toyota a Toyota. Get your Toyota ready for the year's coldest and harshest weather. See your New England Toyota dealer for affordable service offers. Trust the experts at Toyota Service Centers and keep your Toyota a Toyota.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
This morning, growing backlash over President Donald Trump's efforts to reduce the size of the federal government. It comes as several key federal agencies instruct their employees not to comply with Elon Musk's latest demands. Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the details.
This morning, confusion growing over how federal employees should respond to an email from Trump-appointed billionaire Elon Musk asking them to list their recent accomplishments. The original deadline to respond passed overnight, but now Musk saying failure to respond a second time will result in termination. Members of Congress now taking heat from voters at town halls across the country on both sides of the aisle. Missouri Republican Congressman Mark Alford faced a hostile crowd angry about the job cuts. The lawmaker telling those who were fired that God has a plan for them.
Elon Musk has contracts with the federal government. But he is also, I think, doing an effective job.
Conflict of interest! Show me!
I know there are a lot of people who don't want to see waste, abuse, and fraud weeded out.
Democrats slamming Musk for his approach to cut the government.
This is going to have a profound effect on our government and what's happening.
think
It
about
doesn't
all
mean
the
that you
young
never make
people
any
who-
cuts. It's
Yeah.
how they're doing it
Yeah.
for shock and awe instead of actually making our government more effective.
Meanwhile, President Trump calling the email from Musk genius, saying if people don't respond, they would be sort of semi-fired. Yet at least 3 major agencies have told their employees not to respond, including the Justice, State, and Defense Departments. The Office of Personnel Management says responding to the email is voluntary. Now the head of the largest union of federal employees says the workforce is on edge and very frustrated.
They want to confuse the workforce. They want to put fear in the minds of the workforce that they'll just quit.
Meanwhile, the Department of Veterans Affairs is the latest agency hit by job cuts. Nearly 1,400 workers classified as newly hired are being let go. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Well, President Donald Trump says tariffs placed on Canadian and Mexican goods are about to move forward. Trump says tariffs added to imported Canadian and Mexican products are, quote, going forward on time, on schedule. The president says his tariffs will begin as soon as April. The planned tariffs come as Trump says Canadian and Mexican tariffs on American goods hurt American manufacturing and jobs. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum says she's confident Mexico will reach an agreement with the U.S. by this Friday.
Israel and Hamas are trading accusations of violating the existing ceasefire as less than a week remains in their initial pause. Fox's Greg Palcott is in Tel Aviv with the latest on why neither side may proceed in further talks as both sides make demands on hostage and prisoner releases.
Israeli tanks headed into the occupied West Bank over the weekend, a first in more than 2 decades. Israel's defense minister saying troops will remain in parts of the Palestinian territory for the coming year as it works to deepen its crackdown given a rise in attacks throughout the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in an address before the 58th Human Rights Council in Geneva, warned he is gravely concerned over the rising violence in the occupied West Bank and human rights violations in Gaza.
Violations of human rights have skyrocketed since the horrific Hamas attacks of October 7 and the intolerable levels of deaths and destruction in Gaza.
This as Hamas threatens to derail ceasefire deal talks with Israel, saying further steps are conditional on Palestinian prisoners being freed as agreed. Sunday, Israel said it was delaying the release of more than 600 Palestinians in return for 6 living and 4 dead hostages who were returned to Israel last week, accusing Hamas of repeated violations, including what it called humiliating handover ceremonies. Israeli UN Ambassador Danny Danon telling reporters Monday,
"Now we know the truth. Hamas didn't just murder them, they slaughtered them in the most deprived way imaginable."
In a statement from the National Security Council, the White House is backing Israel's decision to delay releasing prisoners, calling the move an appropriate response given the militant group's treatment of hostages. In Tel Aviv, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, have you ever had a stroke of inspiration so strong you had to write it down immediately? Well, we'll hear how one small interaction led to a local man writing a children's book.
That and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
I'm Jim with Lowry & Associates. One of our clients was a man whose family contacted me after he was badly injured in a hit and run. As a former prosecutor, I was able to work with the police and the DA's office to identify the driver and prove that he was drunk when the accident happened. It was that work that allowed us to get him a $500,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Hurt by a drunk driver? Call the twos.
You come alive in the dead of winter and start work early on snow days, because snowed in is not an option. The Kubota Snow lineup of compact tractors, RTVs, and versatile attachments are built to move, plow, blow, and thrive in the winter. So when the snow falls, you could rise to meet it. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 84 months, plus save up to $300.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
Orono is more than just a college town. It's an affordable destination. Welcome to the Orono Arcade, where we have both modern and retro games. And for a new experience, check out our 9-hole Blacklight mini golf course. Budget-friendly, fun for the whole family, with 13 restaurants within walking distance. We look forward to seeing you soon at the Orono Arcade.
Winter is a time to get outside and enjoy all that Maine has to offer. And when it's time to come inside, rest assured everything's toasty because of your Fujitsu heat pump from Valley Home Services. Push a button and you'll be snuggling up on the couch in no time. Valley Home Services offers reliable rebates, significant energy savings, and expert installation. And now save $500 off each indoor unit for all systems installed by April 1st. Embrace the comfort of Fujitsu heat pumps from Valley Home Services. Call or click today.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and it is also National Quiet Day. Quiet Day.
Okay. Okay.
Quiet.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
I like it. Let's play the quiet game.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we don't count them. Just for a few more minutes. Well, this day is about taking a pause and appreciating the sound of silence. Modern life is noisy, which can make stress levels rise. This is a day to take a break from all the noise, because finding peace can calm us down and help us recenter ourselves. I know I could definitely take this advice. I'm always listening to music or a podcast or something, but sometimes it is just like, wow, I was able to just like find peace and to let go of some of my worries if I just don't listen to anything for a while.
Yeah. I figured out years ago I need quiet time every now and then, so I have a lot of quiet time now. It's kind of nice. Even in my truck when I'm driving somewhere, I'll turn the radio off and just, you don't want to be alone with your thoughts sometimes, but sometimes it's nice.
No, totally.
So, yeah.
I need quiet time too. I get crazy and I'm not nice if I don't have my quiet time.
We all need a little quiet time. Hey, by the way, nice to see you. It's been a while. This is the first time in like over 3 weeks now that we've anchored together. You were on vacation, then I got the pneumonia.
Right.
And, so
you sound better now.
I'm feeling better. I still feel like bleh,
this time last year you sounded bad.
Yeah,
or last
week. Yeah. It's
feels like it, I guess.
Yeah, so many people are sick out there, including our morning crew. We've had people out left and right. So
I know.
Hopefully this is the end of
knock
all
on wood.
the illnesses.
I've been fine.
Yeah, knock on wood. All right. Time for some history. We'll do it quietly.
Yeah.
On this day in history, back in 1836, Samuel Colt patented a pistol with a revolving chamber, becoming the first of the 6-shooters. Really changed the Old West back then.
Yeah.
In 1906, the very first tunnel under the Hudson River opened in New York, carrying railroad traffic into the city. In 1919, Oregon became the very first state to tax gasoline with a 1-cent charge per gallon. And in 1933, New York industrialist Thomas Yawkey purchased the Boston Red Sox for $125 million. Seems like a bargain compared to today's prices.
Yeah. When it comes to pricing gasoline, I didn't realize most of what we're paying for gasoline is taxes.
Taxes and things, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It took me my 25 years to realize this.
Yep.
Okay. In 1964, boxing champion Muhammad Ali won his first heavyweight championship by defeating Sonny Liston in Miami. In 1982, the final episode of the Lawrence Welk Show appeared on television.
Was that still, well, you weren't alive then, I guess. No. That was on when I was growing up.
92?
Yeah, they did like big band music and dancing and singing and stuff. And yeah, it was neat for the time.
Yeah. I know it's different now. People's attention spans have changed.
Yeah.
In 1995, singer Frank Sinatra performed for the last time before a live audience. 1,200 selected guests witnessed his final act at the closing of his charity golf tournament in California.
Wish I was there.
I know, right? In 2005, Dennis Rader was arrested for the BTK serial killings in Kansas. He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 10 life sentences.
There's a disturbing documentary about that on Netflix if you're interested in that kind of thing.
It's documentary season right now.
All right, for birthdays today, they include comedian and talk show host Chelsea Handler, who is 50 years old today. Actor Josh Gad turns 44. You recognize him mostly for his voice. He voiced the snowman in, what was that, Frozen.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And several other
things.
He's
also just a really funny guy. He's in all sorts of stuff.
He is. And actress Emily Blunt, I love her too. She's 42 years old today. So happy birthday to them.
All these are really talented folks.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you too, if it's your birthday today.
I was like, Craig, it is not my birthday.
Not yours. Them.
And if it's quiet day, and if you have a birthday on quiet day, you get to pick if you're quiet or not, obviously. Okay. Now it looks like we have some warmer weather compared to the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be mild the next few days. Things are getting up in the 40s. You notice some of the snowbanks are starting to melt around here.
I know.
So
it's very gray.
Yeah.
Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. We have a small craft advisory that does remain in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are going to be dealing with some active surf until about that time frame, thanks to gusty winds. Low temperatures not very cool this morning. We started off in the middle to upper 30s, at least so far, and maybe some 20s and 30s further off towards the north. We'll see an update later on this morning on those lows. But for now, we had some snow and maybe a little bit of rain passing through last night. That has since gotten out of here, and overall just some clouds passing through today and some wind, and that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of the Northeast, a little bit of rain moving in at this point, but overall we're looking pretty good moving forward in our neck of the woods. Futurecast for today will have a mostly cloudy sky, some rain and snow on the way, and maybe a wintry mix. So that could be rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. Snow mainly to the north. There's that transition line right about in here, and maybe a little bit of rain farther down toward the south. And again, wind's not a big issue today, but again, we are going to be watching for the winds picking up again as we head towards tomorrow. So the active weather is farther out towards sea, and that is why we have the small craft advisories posted at this time. Mid-40s today, mostly cloudy, southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overall, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing that mostly cloudy sky. Check out these temperatures making into the 40s later this afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
All right, thank you, Devin. Meeting a stranger can change anyone's life, and that's certainly the case for 79-year-old Richard Spinney. The Brewer resident was simply enjoying his retirement when an encounter with a man and his dog inspired this Mainer to write a children's book.
Our Jody Hersey has more.
Richard Spinney, who served 20 years in the Coast Guard, was visiting one of his daughters in Iowa when he met a stranger and his dog that he couldn't stop thinking about.
I met a guy in the parking lot of the motel, and he had a dog that was kind of small, but up to his knees. And I thought it looked abused. I didn't want to accuse him or anything, so I said, "Your dog looks kind of shy." He said, "Yeah." He says, "I found it in the field a couple days ago." And he said, "I took it to a vet, and the vet didn't give it too much hope."
Spinney thought a book about that stranger, who he calls William, and his stray dog would make a good children's story. So he started writing, and before long, The Adventures of Emma was created and published.
So there's 12 illustrations in that and about 30 photographs that I took.
Spinney's one book led to 2 more stories called More Adventures of Emma and The Adventures of Toby as Told by Emma, which was published in 2024.
I know I'll never be a Stephen King or anything like that, you know.
Spinney admits he's never contacted that stranger who inspired him to become an author later in life.
I probably should tell him one day. I have his email address.
For now, he hopes the bond he writes about between William and Emma will encourage readers to look for the good in others. Spinney's books are available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Actually, if I want to relax, a lot of times I'll pick up one of the books and read it.
In Brewer, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Good for him.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I hope he does email the guy who inspired it.
Yeah, probably get a tickle out of it. I love the name, too, Adventures of Emma.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's a good name. All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have the latest with sports.
Don't go away.
Hammond Lumber Company has been a trusted partner of professional contractors, do-it-yourselfers, and homeowners for generations. It's the level of trust that Hammond Lumber has earned by providing an extensive selection of products and materials from industry-leading suppliers, with guidance and support through every stage of any project, including delivery of materials throughout Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company is, has been, and will always be your building project partner.
Dedication, teamwork, and passion has driven your team to the state championships. Now it's time to cheer them on. Coastal Auto Parts has what you need to get to the big game. Get up and go.
You live in vacation land, right? Then get out and vacation, why don't you? And do it in style by renting an RV from Maine Campo Rentals. Fully furnished, fully insured, ready to roll out and explore. Or maybe you have relatives visiting you. Save your marriage, save the hotel expense, put them up in an affordable RV from Maine Campo Rentals. We'll deliver to Acadia and local campgrounds too. Call or visit online at MaineCampoRentals.com. Put away that cell phone and discover vacation land with Maine Campo Rentals in Brewer.
You know what today is? It's Tuesday. But no matter what day of the week, Lowry & Associates is your go-to law firm. If you've been hurt, call us right now.
If you're hurt in an accident, what do? Call 222-2222.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start on the soccer pitch. After back-to-back seasons as an All-American and leading Maine to 2 America East championships, the Black Bears are retiring Abby Kramer's number 12. The university announcing on Friday that it will be retiring Kramer's jersey after an incredible career in Orono. Kramer becomes the first and only Maine women's soccer player to have her jersey retired. She's the first women's athlete not from basketball to receive the honor as well. She says it's an honor to be mentioned with the all-time greats of UMaine athletics, but she didn't get here all alone.
It's obviously an incredible honor, super surreal and a mix of emotions. I mean, I think it's really just a testament to the dedication and commitment by the entire program. So yeah, I didn't get here alone. And I've gotten so much support from my teammates, my coaches, the training staff, and my family. So this is as much a moment for them as it is for me.
Kramer leaves behind a Maine career that includes the first two All-American nods in program history, the first conference championship and regular season championship in program history, an America East Striker of the Year award, 2 NCAA tournament trips, and more. But it isn't the accolades that stick with her. It's the relationship she's built over the years.
What stands out for me is like the relationships that we built. I mean, we all pushed each other every day to get the best out of each other. I mean, obviously the wins and the championships mean so much and were great, but when I look back, it's the bonds that we made that I think are going to last.
Kramer, since leaving the program, has signed to play pro soccer in Europe, Portugal specifically. The university is planning a ceremony to honor her, hopefully this fall. Let's go to some hoop now. Off of the Maine high school beat for just a second. Down in Durham, Cooper Flagg once again setting records. He wins the ACC Rookie of the Week award for the 11th time. Flagg surpassing Kenny Anderson, Tyler Hansbrough, and Jabari Parker this week, and his 11 Rookie of the Week honors are the most all-time in ACC history. Those three each had won the award 10 times. Cooper averaged 16.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1 block and 1 steal per game over the week, helping Duke to 2 big wins, first over Virginia and later a 110-67 win over Illinois at Madison Square Garden. Duke is now the second-ranked team in the country in the most recent AP poll. And a big congratulations to Ace Flag, staying on the subject. Ace and his new squad from Greensboro Day School winning the North Carolina 3A state championship this past weekend. Flag had 11 points in the win, second on his team, but he had his fingerprints all over the contest. Over his career now, Ace has won state championships in 3 different states, starting with the Class A gold ball with Nokomis back in 2022. They won with Montverde Academy in Florida, including a national title with the Eagles, and now he gets one in North Carolina. Ace will be suiting up at the Pit with Maine men's basketball this coming fall, so it won't be long until we get to see him in person again. Staying with basketball now and back up here in Maine, the Mr. and Miss Maine basketball finalists have been announced, with the MABC committee narrowing each awards finalist down to 3. Congratulations to Jameer Rose out of Noble, Wyatt Benoit out of Thornton Academy, and Gabe Lash from Madomic Valley for being named the 3 finalists for Mr. Maine basketball. And congratulations to Ella Pelletier out of Oxford Hills, Lexi Morin out of Brunswick, and from the north, Madeline Depre from Caribou for being the 3 Miss Maine finalists. Depre will play for the Class B gold ball in Portland on Saturday. Big congratulations to all of them, very deserving. Staying with basketball now, it was another great tourney week last week, but the postseason madness is not over. Still 2 more days to go with those gold ball games this upcoming weekend. Those start Friday with Class A in Augusta. The Messalonski boys, they represent the North. They will play Falmouth after taking down Hamden Academy, but those Broncos girls outlasted Camden Hills in double overtime in a classic. They will play Mount Ararat for that gold ball. On Saturday, Class C and D take the Cross Center and Class C girls. In their 4th straight regional finals appearance, Penobscot Valley gets the championship plaque. It was a great tournament for the unbeaten Howlers. They scored over 80 in their first 2 games while taking down Mattanockcook in a thriller in the last game to win the North.
The seniors really need to get that monkey off their back. They've been here 4 times now, and so I wanted it so bad for them. I didn't even, I don't care about myself, you know what I mean? So I want them to go win a state championship for our community. So.
In Class D, the Skank Wolverines were the winners for the boys. It's been an incredible run for the Wolverines these past few years. They've got just 2 losses over the past 2 seasons, one coming last year in the regional finals and one the first game of the season this year, so it's been 19 straight for them. Head coach Aaron Hutchins told me afterwards he's happy the guys are just maxing out their season together.
Like I said, man, it's surreal, but on the other side too, it's emotional. I can't stress about these guys enough. I got the best coaching staff in the world. It's a close-knit family, and it's finally surreal to bring something back home to my hometown that we tried winning 4 years in high school. So it's a happy accomplishment. I'm very happy for our players.
Big congratulations to all the winners. We'll try and catch up with as many as we can this week. Best of luck in the Gold Ball games. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Looking for a place the whole family will love? Gilmore's Restaurant has something for everyone. From legendary boneless wings to weekly specials and refreshing drinks, we're your neighborhood favorite. Whether it's family dinner or a night out, Gilmore's Restaurant is where memories are made. Family friendly and flavor packed. Visit us today.
The Furniture Gallery is celebrating President's Day. Camp & Cottage queen mattresses starting at just $198. Revolutionize your space with a cozy recliner. 3 color choices for only $298. Declare your independence from outdated furniture with a sofa chaise for $598. Or a sofa and love seat set, just $798. Get comfortable with the Scott Living King mattress, yours for the price of a queen. And don't miss these clearance deals up to 70% off. Hurry into the Furniture Gallery before these monumental deals are history. The Furniture Gallery.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With 25 years experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Looking for a place the whole family will love? Gilmore's Restaurant has something for everyone. From legendary boneless wings to weekly specials and refreshing drinks, we're your neighborhood favorite. Whether it's family dinner or a night out, Gilmore's Restaurant is where memories are made. Family friendly and flavor packed. Visit us today.
Welcome back, everyone. Apple is confirming a major investment here in the U.S. It says it will build a new factory in Texas by next year. The location to build artificial intelligence servers is part of a $500 billion investment in the U.S. in the next 4 years. The Houston factory will add thousands of research and development jobs. Apple CEO Tim Cook met with President Trump last week. Fox Business says the investment is in response to threatened tariffs and the need to step up for the transformation to artificial intelligence. Apple will also launch a manufacturing academy in Michigan and will also be spending in California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and in Washington as well.
America's elite earners are making up for nearly the majority of the country's spending. Data from Moody's Analytics shows the country's richest 10% of earners, which includes people who make more than $250,000 a year, now make up almost 50% of all spending. Economists say the nation's economic growth depends on them to keep shelling it out. Data shows spending among upper earners increased 12% between September of 2023 to September of 2024. While among working and middle-class earners, their spending dropped over the same period. The bottom 80% of earners spent 25% more than 4 years earlier, which barely topped inflation increases of 21% in that period.
Kind of makes sense. Well, homeowners are rethinking their investments as home maintenance repair costs rise to an all-time high. According to the home service website Thumbtack, the average annual cost to maintain a single-family home rose to a whopping $10,433 in 2024. And if property taxes, home insurance, and HOE fees are added, that number jumps to over $18,000 annually. Experts say some of the biggest ticket expenses are heating and air conditioning, while other maintenance costs like plumbing have surged due to labor shortages. Others, like roof repairs, have increased because of material shortages as well. According to Bankrate, only 24% of homeowners set aside money for repairs and maintenance. Kind of hard these days. A lot of people are paying more and more just to cover their mortgages or rent or that kind of thing. Makes it hard to put any money aside for anything.
I don't know that many people that are able to save money right now.
Maybe those people making over $200,000 a year.
Right,
yeah.
Right. All right, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have a small crowd advisory that is up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Along the coast, no issues inland, though, but we are watching for active surf further out towards sea, and that is why those advisories or those wave heights do remain rather high at around 5 to 7 feet. We've had a wave of energy passing through. The winds are going to back off, which means the wave heights will back off, and that is why that advisory will expire later this afternoon. So there's that rain and snow that passed through last night. That's that wave of energy right there. So we'll calm down for a while. Clouds will move back in coming up later on today. Here's another system right here. This should stay to our south. We'll have a little bit of rain and maybe a little bit of snow coming up later on tonight. But this is this system right here with some rain tracking from the west going toward the east, at least at this moment in time. So overall for today, we will be under a mostly cloudy sky. Another system will be approaching coming up later on tonight. There's the rainfall right there. Temperatures will be falling, so we could be watching for a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow in some areas overnight. This does get out of here rather quickly as we head towards Wednesday morning and maybe some breaks in the clouds by Wednesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday night, here we are looking rather clear as we head towards Thursday morning, maybe a few passing clouds. So any snowfall will be further off towards the north, where maybe an inch or two could fall in those areas. Of course, not much of anything further down toward the south. Maybe a tiny bit of ice possible in a few spots. Again, it's very minimal, but any kind of ice could be enough to make anything slippery, so just keep an eye on that as you head out the door tomorrow morning. As for rainfall, maybe around 1/10 of an inch or so in some areas before we're all finished up with a system that will be passing through later on tonight. So for now, again, gusty winds won't be an issue for most of today. Later on tonight, not too bad either, but gusty winds do make a return tomorrow, getting up to 25 miles per hour at times. Average high temperature is 34 degrees. We'll do mid-40s today. today, then lower 40s Wednesday, gradually cooling off with upper 30s Thursday into Friday, mid-30s Saturday, and 20s make a return Sunday and also into your Monday. Mostly cloudy today, highs in the mid-40s, winds backing off out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, some rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. The wind's not bad. It will be calm. We'll also have some areas of dense fog with lows overall in the lower 30s. And then for tomorrow, lower 40s, mostly cloudy and breezy again, and the northwest wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour at times. And let's check out your extended forecast. Rain and snow opportunities make a return Thursday with highs in the upper 30s. Snow chances again for your Friday with highs in the upper 30s. Mid-30s for your Saturday with a chance for rain and snow.
A new year and a new adventure with the perfect Chevy to take you anywhere. With pure power unleashed and future-forward technology. Because every mile matters and every path leads to new possibilities.
Qualified Chevy lessees who trade in an eligible vehicle can get this 2025 Silverado for around $379 a month. Or current Chevy owners can get $8,000 total cash allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
I'm Jim with Lowry & Associates. A husband and wife called me after they were hit by a drunk driver. They were both seriously injured, they couldn't work, and they were worried about their medical bills. We put 2 former prosecutors on the case and got them the justice they deserved. A $400,000 settlement they were able to use for their retirement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Hurt by a drunk driver? Call the twos.
Upset stomach? Iberogast. Indigestion? Iberogast. Bloating? Iberogast. Thanks to a unique combination of herbs, Iberogast helps relieve 6 digestive symptoms to help you feel better. 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature. Iberogast.
With winter upon us, you'll want to feel safe on the road. So take action right now by heading to your Toyota all-wheel drive headquarters for our Washington's Birthday sales event. Get your best Washington's Birthday deal on a 4-wheel drive Land Cruiser Hybrid with 326 net combined horsepower. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Hurry in and save on a vehicle from the longest-lasting brand, Toyota. See your New England Toyota dealer for all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Being a cop is stressful. And every case is different. How did you get here before me?
Look, smarter, not harder. New The Rookie, tonight on ABC and stream on Hulu.
As it stands, there is no official Maine state dog, but a group of legislators is now working to change that. Yesterday, a public hearing was held for LD 80, a bill to designate the Sapella Siberian sled dog as the official state dog of Maine. Sponsor of the bill, David Boyer, says the sled dog is a remarkable breed that embodies Maine's enduring spirit.
Now, some might wonder, why not choose a breed that is more commonly seen in our homes? And that's a fair question. As Maine is home to many beloved dogs, each with its own quirks and charms. But the Sapella Siberian sled dog stands apart not because it's common, but because it's exceptional. This rare breed, with its storied past, aligns with our shared values of excellence through hard work and perseverance. Choosing it as our state dog doesn't diminish other breeds, certainly not your own pup at home, but rather elevates a symbol that reflects our highest ideals.
We'll now go to a work session for more consideration.
Highest ideals probably being it's good in the cold.
Yeah, yeah, they love the cold, that's for sure.
And the snow. All right, looks like we are running out of time. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com. As usual, we'll start a renewed hour of Good Morning Maine next on Fox 22.
We thank you so much for joining us and hope you have a wonderful day.
Did he lose his shirt?
I've never seen anybody lose their shirt.
Do you think they made him pay triple?
I guess our tactics didn't work today. Who's the law firm?
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe. The law offices of Joe Bornstein. Maine lawyers working for Maine people.
Tell the insurance company you mean business.
Orono is more than just a college town. It's an affordable destination. Welcome to the Orono Arcade, where we have both modern and retro retro games. And for a new experience, check out our 9-hole Blacklight mini golf course. Budget-friendly, fun for the whole family, with 13 restaurants within walking distance. We look forward to seeing you soon at the Orono Arcade.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
Come bowl a few games here at Bangor Brewer Bowling Lanes. We're one of the only candlepin bowling alley centers in Maine, conveniently located in the heart of Brewer. You always have the opportunity to simply bowl for fun. However, you can also join a league. We have youth leagues, adult and senior leagues. Now don't forget, we also host birthday parties for under $100, and gift certificates are also available. Give us a call right away at 989-3798 to make reservations for your birthday party today.
You're watching ABC7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. Whiplash for federal workers, a midair scare, and remembering Roberta Flack. Elon Musk doubles.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, one person is dead after a carport collapses in Bar Harbor.
Plus, UMaine faces pressure to stop transgender athletes from competing in women's sports.
And state lawmakers are considering a measure that calls for term limits for members of the U.S. Congress.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. But first, a check of the forecast, and it's looking like a mild day ahead. It's already up above freezing, which felt great coming to work this morning. It didn't take too long for the truck to warm up. And then temperatures are going to get up into the 40s for the next few days.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. We have a small craft advisory that does remain in effect until about 3.